Welcome to the Book of Recaps. Today, we are going to explain the movie. Welcome to the Book of Recaps. Today, we are going to explain the movie. Welcome to the Book of Recaps. Today, we are going to explain the movie Happy Death Day. The story begins at the boys' hostel of a medical college. Tree opens her eyes. She is shocked to find herself in an unknown boy's room. How did she get here? She doesn't remember anything about this. In the meantime, Tree's father calls her on the phone, but she doesn't answer. After that, she gets up from the bed and puts on her clothes. Tree doesn't even know the boy's name, but he introduces himself as Carter. He also tells her that last night, Tree drank a lot at a party, which is why she doesn't remember what happened. However, Tree wasn't interested in knowing what happened between her and Carter. At that time, Tree's head was throbbing with pain, so she asks Carter for a headache medicine. Carter finds the medicine in his room and gives it to Tree. Before leaving, Tree tells Carter that whatever happened between them last night, he should keep it a secret. Right at that moment, Carter's friend enters, knocking on the door, and asks if Carter sealed the deal with the hot girl last night. However, upon seeing Tree in Carter's room, he bows his head in embarrassment, as he mistook Tree for the hot girl. Hearing this, Tree gives Carter a disappointed look and departs. As she exits the hostel, a boy looks at Tree and starts to flirt with her. Then, a girl invites her to join the global warming campaign. However, Tree brushes them off and continues on her way. She comes across two lovers in the garden who are engrossed in a romantic moment, but soon after, heavy rain begins. Suddenly, the sound of a car horn catches her attention. She also notices that while attempting to set a record for staying awake continuously, one of the students has fallen asleep on the ground. At that moment, a boy named Tim unexpectedly appears before Tree, someone she had previously gone on a date with. Even though Tree's date with Tim had gone quite poorly, she doesn't pay him much attention. She leaves him behind and heads to her hostel. There, a girl sitting at the hostel door greets her, but Tree, preoccupied with her thoughts, proceeds towards her room, ignoring the greeting. Then, a girl named Daniel notices her. Daniel is involved in running a social club at the university. Daniel takes care of their well-being and safety, but also tends to meddle in their personal lives. This tendency prompts Daniel to make a sarcastic comment to Tree, asking who she spent the night with. However, Tree doesn't reveal anything and goes into her room, where her roommate Lori awaits. Lori informs Tree that the previous night, Tree had a lot of fun at the party, such as dancing on tables, engaging in various antics, and even kissing Daniel's boyfriend in front of her. Tree is taken aback by this revelation, as she just met with Daniel and thought everything went well. In response, Lori reveals that Daniel was also quite drunk last night, which might explain her lack of memory. As class time approaches, Tree quickly gets ready to attend class. Meanwhile, Lori affectionately places a candle in front of a small cake for Tree and surprises her with a birthday wish. Lori found out it was Tree's birthday from her driver's license, so she made a cake. But Tree didn't really care and threw the candle away, saying she didn't want to get fat. Meanwhile, Daniel was talking to her women's club members. Tree saw one of them eating a big breakfast, and Daniel criticized her for it, saying it would make her gain weight. Daniel made her give the breakfast back. Then suddenly, Carter appeared and Becky accidentally dropped her breakfast all over Tree. Carter actually came to return Tree's bracelet that she left in his room last night. But Tree acts like she doesn't know him. Carter insists and returns the bracelet before leaving. After classes, Tree goes to the university hospital where she runs into Lori. Lori asks why Tree's at the hospital. The real reason for Tree's visit is Dr. Gregory, who is also her university professor. Lori advises Tree that she's making a big mistake that she'll regret someday. However, Tree tells Lori to mind her own business. She heads straight to Gregory's office. After a while, when Gregory arrives, Tree locks the door using a chair. She starts hugging and kissing Gregory, but suddenly, Gregory's wife starts knocking on the door from outside. Both of them get startled. Gregory explains to his wife that Tree is a student who came to discuss some work. Tree then leaves. Later, there's a party at the university. Tree gets ready and heads there. Some students are laughing and walking ahead of her, making way for others. However, one person stands in her way and stares at her from behind. Tree ignores him and continues. While crossing a bridge, she notices a music box playing Happy Birthday in the middle. She's momentarily shocked, but then assumes it's a prank from someone she knows. Thinking so, Tree approaches the music box. However, suddenly, the same masked man who was staring at her earlier appears behind her. She's surprised. Initially, she thinks he might be lost from his friends and considers helping him. But his unsettling silence starts scaring her. She warns him that she'll call the police. Hearing the mention of the police, the masked man leaves abruptly. Fearfully, Tree continues walking and crosses the bridge. Suddenly, the masked man reappears in front of her, attempting to stab her. She manages to escape and runs for her life. However, she collides with a barricade while running and falls down. As she looks around, the masked man is nowhere to be seen. In a terrifying moment, the masked man brutally stabs Tree, leading to her painful death. Surprisingly, the next moment, Tree's eyes open and she finds herself back on Carter's bed. She can't believe it, as everything seems to be repeating exactly as before. Her father calls her on the phone. She changes clothes at Carter's, asks him for headache medicine, knowing its location this time, and even knows Carter's name. Carter's friend enters the room and reacts the same way as before. Overwhelmed, Tree rushes out of the room. Upon leaving the hostel, the same events unfold once again, such as encountering a lecherous boy and being invited to the global warming campaign. The scene with the lovers and the water repeats. Tree also meets her past lover, Tim, who informs her that it's Monday the 18th. This revelation leaves Tree bewildered. Back at her hostel, Daniel stops her just like before, and Lori surprises her with a birthday cake. Tree, however, believes she's experiencing a delusion due to excessive drinking. She ignores the events, leaves the cake on the desk, and heads to class. University life continues as usual, with incidents like Becky and Carter's collision and Tree spilling breakfast on Carter. Unlike before, Carter doesn't return Tree's bracelet this time, but Tree already knows about it and asks for it back immediately. Later, Tree heads straight to Gregory's office. She closes the door, causing Gregory to think she wants to confess her love. Tree clarifies that she doesn't love him. She's dealing with a different issue. Just as before, Gregory's wife arrives, prompting Tree to swiftly leave. At night, as she prepares for the party, a group of students passes by, including the masked killer. This time, when Tree looks back, the masked man continues with his group. Tree felt like all the strange things happening were just accidents. But when she got to a bridge, she saw a music box and realized something bad was going to happen. So, she went a different way to a house where she was invited to a party. But nobody was there. Tree knocked on the door, but no one answered. She looked at the back door, but it was quiet. When she turned back around, the masked man was at the front door. She screams in fear and punched the masked man. Oh no! It's just Nick. They threw her a surprise party. Tree apologizes for the punch, but Nick seems to be into that kind of thing, subliminally leading her into his bedroom. Once she arrives, he introduces her to the pleasure dome, dropping the disco ball and busting them move. Tree, uninterested, texts Danielle, while Nick gets stabbed to death right behind her. She finally attempts to walk out, but sees Nick dead on the ground. The killer then pins her to the bed when a fat dude walks in to save the day. Never mind that. The killer grabs a bomb, breaking it and stabbing her with it. Tree wakes up gasping for air, freaking Carter out. Tree panicking, realizing she's reliving the same day, runs out of the room past Ryan and out onto the campus, going through the same events once again. She gets to her house, telling Lori about what's going on, attempting to convince her by telling her that she knows about the cupcake and the surprise party later that night. She even tells her the most important of all. Lori just thinks Tree isn't feeling well and recommends staying in for the night. Tree takes this advice, boarding up her windows and barricading her door. Before eating the cupcake, she looks for the remote, because no one likes to watch trash. Okay, I'm just joking. She finds a black envelope containing a birthday card with a threatening message in it. This, with a combination of the TV randomly turning off, spooks her out. She gets her nifty hammer and starts checking around the room, When the baby-faced killer pokes out from right behind her, stabbing her to death once again, Tree wakes up screaming, even spooking Carter out. She has a bit of a mental breakdown, as expected, and sprints out of the room. Noticing all the same events going on, she spins in circles, going crazy when Carter shows up with her belongings that she left. She asks for help and the two go to lunch together. Carter tries wrapping his head around her situation and does his best to help, giving the solution to keep dying until she solves her own murder. For the record, I didn't take advantage of you last night, okay? I slept on Ryan's bed. This leads into our fun montage of Tree repeatedly dying while trying to figure out who's doing the killing. She creates a list, writing down prime suspects and crossing them off after confirming they're not the killer. Anyway, she finds out Tim is gay during the process. She also finds out Danielle has the birthday card with the threatening message, Tree fighting her, leading to both of them being hit by a bus. After being hit in the head with a baseball bat, she wakes up not feeling so well. She passes out in Ryan's arms and awakes to Carter by her side in the hospital. The rolling blackout occurs, and Gregory shows up right behind him, spooking them out. Suspicious Gregory. Gregory sends Carter on his way, and describes to Tree that she should technically be dead due to the extreme trauma inside her body, thus allowing to conclude the damage from these deaths are actually causing her bodily harm. Tree requests a drink, Gregory saying, "Of course, girl." Then, taking the opportunity to sneak out, she heads to Gregory's office, taking his car keys and finding the baby mask, Tree believing he's the killer. She walks out and finds Gregory, but before she can even accuse him, the killer comes from behind and kills him. She runs to the parking garage attempting to hide, when she beeps the car, alerting the killer. She luckily makes it in before getting caught, and drives off. Speeding down the highway, all excited and whatnot, she gets pulled over. The officer asks if she's on any drugs due to her odd behavior. Tree, realizing this is a golden opportunity to get locked up and be safe from the killer, she lies and says she's on all different kinds of drugs. The cop handcuffing her and throwing her in the back of his car. He then suddenly gets run over, killing him. The killer then rolls down the window and drops a birthday candle and a stream of gasoline coming from the cop car, blowing Tree up. She awakes once again and walks through the usual chain of events, Carter following her, making sure she's okay. They go out to the diner chatting, where Tree farts, and also ignores a call from her dad once again. She goes on to explain how her mom and her share the same birthday, and it was one of the most special days, that is until her mom passed away. So ever since, she's just been avoiding her dad. While chatting, she notices a news broadcast explaining a suspected murderer of 6 females and 1 cop, John Toombs, who is being treated at the campus hospital. Tree recalls seeing his room, and quickly heads there to put a stop to this madness once and for all. Cop dead, and John Toombs in the baby mask shooting at her. She runs out, and the nurse gets caught in the crossfire. Tree gets to a dead end, where Toombs takes off the mask. He gets ready to shoot her, when Carter comes out of nowhere and tackles him. But the fight doesn't last too long, as Toombs breaks his neck and kills him. This gives Tree enough time to find another exit. Toombs follows and enters the bell tower when Tree hits him from behind. Tree remembers Carter, and she decides to hang herself instead. She wakes up in a fantastic mood, thanking Carter for saving her life, being cool with Ryan calling her fine vagin, and walking through the park, signing the Stop Global Warming petition, alerting the couple to move before the sprinklers go off, laying a pillow under the frat guy as he passes out, and even telling Tim that she knows he's gay, and to embrace it and be open. No need to hide it and pretend you like girls. Just be yourself. She arrives at her house and apologizes to Lori for being a terrible roommate, then going to Gregory and ending their little relationship, creating some bad blood between the two. During lunch, Tree brings a huge tray of food to make Becky feel better about her food selection. That doesn't stop Danielle from being a douche though, and she gets what she deserves. Carter shows up as usual, and Tree finally gives him a big ol' smooch, and the two set up a date. Ah, cute. Later, Tree decides to show up to meet her dad, and they have an emotional talk about her mom. Tree apologizes for avoiding him, and the two share a special bonding moment. That night, Tree prepares for her battle with Toombs and shows up to take the cop's gun and tells him to go get help. She walks into the room to shoot him, but the safety is on, and the two battle. Toombs takes her to the ground when Tree's watch starts beeping, signaling it's time for that rolling blackout. What the heck is? And she takes advantage of this, getting the gun and showing up from behind him. When the lights come back on, she then shoots him and kills him. Yay, she finally did it, everyone. To end off the night, she's back at her sorority house, celebrating with Carter, emulating the final scene from 16 Candles. Everything is all well and dandy, and the movie ends with her blowing out the candle on Lori's cupcake she made her. Just kidding. She wakes up again, freaking out, not knowing what to do. She runs home and starts packing her bags, telling Lori she's leaving and going as far away as possible. Lori, trying to comfort her, offers her the cupcake. Tree says no thanks, as she already ate it last night, but quickly realizes she died in her sleep via poisoning from the cupcake. She puts the details together quickly, figuring out Lori used Toombs as a scapegoat for the murder. Lori denies the allegations, so Tree decides to take it to the police station. On her way out, Lori snags her by the hair and pulls her down, confessing to it, saying her motive was Tree being a terrible roommate and banging Gregory, Lori being a bit jealous. Anyway, let's get to the action. They start wrestling. When Lori gets on top of Tree grabs the cupcake and smushes it into her face, then proceeding to kick Lori out of the window and falling to her death. Good ol' revenge. Later that day, Tree meets up with Carter at the diner, where they do some flirting, and Carter compares her situation to Groundhog Day. But Tree pulls a little rock. You know, your little scenario reminds me of what? And the movie ends. Mwah? Carter's just joking. He confirms she finally made it to Tuesday the 19th. She gets lovingly upset, but they kiss it out in front of a Sick They Live poster. Tree got lucky and got herself a good one, and the movie actually ends this time.